talk politics now. Brand new polling out from the crucial state of Iowa, where Donald Trump leads the Republican field with 27%. Dr. Ben Carson only 6 points behind him. After that, Texas Senator Ted Cruz is in third place at 9%. Let's talk politics with Joe Trippi, a former Howard Dean campaign manager. Pete Snyder is a former candidate for Virginia lieutenant governor. Both are Fox News contributors. So Donald Trump continues his run at the top, Joe. I guess the question is, can it last?
Right now,
hey, John, I apologize. Bill Belichick must have gotten to my earpiece. I'm not hearing anything on programming right now.
Pete, we appreciate the heads up. We'll try and fix that while I talk to Joe. Joe, back to you for a second.
Yeah, I don't think look, right now he is on a roll, and he's continuing to roll, along with Ben Carson. And now with Cruz coming into third place, you look at that total vote there of people sort of outside the establishment of the Republican Party. It's getting up over 50, getting up into the 50s. So if somebody can consolidate that vote, and Trump or Carson look like they might be able to, it starts to become tough to stop them.
But it's one thing to tell a pollster whom you like, but in Iowa, there's another factor to it. Explain that.
It is. Look, the one thing, you can have great numbers in Iowa. You got to get your vote to the caucuses. It's a cold night in the winter. It's snow on the ground. People have to stand in those caucuses for hours sometimes. So it's one thing to have that support. It's another thing, and even to have the energy of your supporters, but it's another thing to make sure they get there, to have the organizational structure to do that. Neither Carson nor any of the, really, even Cruz, I think, at this point, and definitely not Donald Trump, have that organization in place. They should be able to put it in place because there's plenty of time left, but we haven't seen it yet.
All right. We have Pete Snyder apparently able to hear us now. Pete, thanks again for the heads up, because asking you questions that you couldn't hear wouldn't be very fair. So how do you, Pete, explain this? How do you explain the fact that Donald Trump and Ben Carson, two non-politicians, are leading the Republican field?
Well, John, look, I'm glad that I thought I was at Fox News, not Foxborough, but glad to be back here. And, if you combine both Trump and Carson, you get over 50% of the vote in Iowa right now. So I think it's mass disgust with the way things are working in Washington and nationwide, and not a whole lot of love at all for politics as usual. And that's something that's been brewing not only in the Republican Party, but very much so in the Democratic Party as well. I mean, when you have a name like Clinton that is struggling out there to gain real traction, struggling with someone like Bernie Sanders, that there is mass disgust across both parties right now with the way things are moving in this country.
Well, Joe, part of the reason your Howard Dean campaign caught fire so much is that people saw him as somebody who was not part of the Washington mold. Is that the kind of mood that voters are in once again today?
No question about it. The establishments of both parties, I think, are looking at, we used to talk about their conventional wisdom. Right now, they're both in conventional hysteria about what they're seeing brewing in insurgency campaigns on both sides. But I do think that Pete's right, though, particularly right now when you see the numbers on the Republican side, where it's more pronounced. I mean, well over 50% are sort of moving into those kind of insurgent, anti-establishment candidacies. It's going to be very tough for the establishment of the GOP to put that down. I'm not sure it'll work this time.
Well, we'll see where these September polls have these candidates come a cold night, as you point out, Joe, in February in Iowa. Thank you both, Pete Snyder, Joe Trippi. We'll talk to you soon.